News Talk 4BC Afternoons with Michael and Claire. Now, whether it's giving a speech at your relative's wedding or maybe you need to deliver that presentation at your workplace, I bet you've had a little bit of trepidation in public speaking, Claire. I know, even though we're radio people, sometimes it is nerve-wracking, isn't it?
I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm fine in front of a microphone or a camera, but if real-life people are in front of me, I have a real big problem, and I usually get so anxious that I throw up.
Well, oh dear.
Sorry,
well, you see, sometimes that's just adrenaline.
You're okay, though. You're not too bad.
I get extremely nervous. I'm more or less the same as your good self up to the point where I don't throw up.
Sorry, I probably didn't need to mention that, but I will talk to Phil and he'll tell us that's probably pretty common.
He's an expert, Phil Schibeci. He is a corporate speaker of great repute. He's the author of the new book, How to Get Out of the Rut Race. I love that as a title. Good afternoon to you, Phil.
G'day, Michael and Claire. How are you?
We're okay. So is this pretty common? I know that it's up there with death, divorce, public speaking is one of the biggest fears for most people, isn't it?
It is, yep. For all of us, including myself.
So is that adrenaline, that nerves before you go on, that's actually can be channeled, can't it?
Definitely. You actually need that. And this is one of the things people don't realise. They worry about that feeling beforehand. Clients often ask me, how do I get rid of that? And I say to them, look, if you're not feeling anxiety, that nervous energy before you speak, check your pulse because something's wrong.
I find if I'm so prepared, that really does make an impact. But you've got some special tips because at some point, all of us will have to do this, won't we?
Yeah, well, that's right. Especially in the workplace these days, it's an often a demand now.
Well, doing presentation stuff like that, you've got to be really clear on what you're going to say. That's the main thing as well.
Yeah, definitely. The thing is that try to speak on a topic you're passionate about. Well, it's going to be something you know about, and try to find the passion in it, where you're interested in, and come around that way and bring some of yourself in there, maybe some personal stories. And yeah, be really clear on what your message is. What is it you want to leave the audience with?
Well, you've got 5 steps, and you've covered a couple there. Speak on a topic you're passionate about. Be crystal clear on your message. And number 3 is work out the first words that you will say.
Yeah, so now we're getting into the structure. So, yeah, really important to know how you're going to start, because the beginning of a presentation is the most challenging part. It's when the speaker is at their most anxious or nervous, and when the audience is at their most sceptical, because they don't know if they don't know you, is this going to be worth listening to? So if you can get off to a good start by knowing exactly what you're going to say and rehearse that a few times.
And you say list 3 points that you want to speak on and then do bullet points.
My mantra is KISS, keep it simple. I tell people, rather than write your whole speech out word for word, just list 3 points, because again, as I said earlier, you're going to be an expert, or at least know what you're talking about. So just come up with 3 points, 3 areas you want to cover, and then give that some thought to what you want to say. And you don't really have to rehearse that part of it and write it all out. Let it. That way, it's more natural when you're presenting it.
What if you have to give quite a long speech? Say you're a specialist at a conference and your bit goes for 20 or 30 minutes and, we've all been crucified, death by PowerPoint. How do you make that a bit more interesting?
The thing to do there is, which is what I do, I only teach people what I do, is engage the audience as much as you can. What I do is I ask the audience a lot of questions, and it's one of the things I teach people to do. In fact, it's a really good way to start a presentation by asking the audience a closed question. I'll give you an example if you want.
Yeah.
Something like, just say I was giving a presentation on public speaking. I could start the presentation with something like, so how many of you, with a show of hands, how many of you have ever felt uncomfortable in front of an audience? And then straight away people are thinking, oh, yeah, that's happened to me, or, I can relate to that. And it takes the heat off you as the presenter, and it puts some of the attention and interaction with the audience, so it becomes a two-way thing. Because the worst thing, the fear with public speaking is that people feel separated from everyone, and they're up there talking, everyone's quiet and listening. So you can get the audience engaged. It's more of a two-way dialogue. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it certainly does. I had some advice early on when I got up to do some speeches, and somebody said, look, imagine your audience naked. And I did, and I forgot what I was going to speak about because my imagination is very fertile. Well, it's true. I literally did. I was probably 19. I was one of my first presentations at work, and the bloke said, just imagine everybody naked. And I did. I looked at my colleagues and I thought, wow, and then I forgot about the speech.
You wouldn't recommend that, would you, Phil?
No, I've heard that one many times. I'd never recommend that to anyone, and because I wouldn't do it myself. I think I'd be like Michael. It'd be more distracting than anything else.
Oh, and it doesn't keep you on topic, that's for sure. So you're saying prepare in 5 minutes and you can actually turn the fear of public speaking into fun. And that's what we were talking about earlier, getting that adrenaline and turning it into something you can use.
Yeah, it's energy. And the thing is that you want to be yourself in front of an audience, as in you're not trying to be someone else. That's part of the problem sometimes. But you want to be you sort of amplified. So you want to use that nervous energy. It's like what I'm doing now. While I was waiting for you guys to call, of course I felt some anxiety and nervousness because I'm here on my own. But now I'm using that as energy. And that's the same with a presentation. You get up there and you use that energy to amplify who you are.
What about your fifth step? That's know how you'll finish. This is something that's really important, isn't it? Because often you see people speaking, they're doing a good job, and then they're just trailing off and not knowing quite how to get out.
Yeah, great point you make there, Claire, and it does happen a lot. People can do a great presentation, then they might finish like, well, that's about it, that's all I got to say. And it's like a real downer. So, yeah, you want to finish on a high. I often use quotes from famous people that relate to the topic I'm talking about, or some call for action or something like that. And that's, again, like the beginning, know exactly what you're going to say at the end. So at any time, you might suddenly realise you're running out of time. You can go straight to your ending and put that in, give it a real punchy finish.
And Phil, there's often you'll go to a wedding or some sort of work function where somebody gets up to speak and they're just so inappropriate. Is there a rule of thumb or a guide about appropriate jokes?
It's very important to know what audience you're talking to. So, with any presentation, do the research. But say at a wedding, just think about who's in the audience. It's a very mixed audience, young people, old people, middle-aged. So you've got to play it safe with a mixed audience because you don't want to offend anyone. Some people will find it funny, some people might find it offensive. So whenever I MC a wedding, I don't do jokes. I get laughs from just relating to what's happening that day or during the event, and people are there relating to it rather than trying to be funny.
I think that's the fatal failure of any family member that gets roped into that type of stuff. But look, I think you've covered it wonderfully there, Phil. And your book, How to Get Out of the Rut Race, it's basically about getting out of your personal and professional ruts, including fear of public speaking, all of that type of jazz. Thank you very much for joining us, Phil Schibeci. We greatly appreciate your time.
Oh, my pleasure, guys. It was a lot of fun. Thanks very much for having me.